Am I the asshole for calling my late husband's lawyer friend to Christmas dinner after my mom told my 8-year-old that Christmas would be better without us there?
Welcome to Popcornrest story. Today's story is about a grieving widow who thought her family were fully supporting her after her husband, sudden death, until Christmas Eve revealed a shocking betrayal, a secret plan for her fortunes, and a grandmother who has been quietly repairing a subscribe to owe. So let's get started to see what's happened.
My sister slid a document across the dinner table at 7:43 p.m. on Christmas. Eve, I know the exact time because Lily had just asked me quietly if we could open one present before bed, and I had looked at my phone to check how much longer we had to stay. The document was a power of attorney. It had my name on it. I transferred full financial management of my accounts to my sister Meredith. If there were 15 people at that table watching me look at it, some background that my husband David died 14 months ago. A car accident on a Tuesday morning. The kind of thing that happens and then becomes the thing that divides your life into before and after. He was 37. Our daughter Lily was 7. David had taken out a life insurance policy several years before he died. I didn't know the full details until after the funeral when his lawyer called. The policy was worth $2.3 million within 3 weeks of that call. My parents started inviting me to Sunday dinners. I want to be clear about what the relationship had been before that, as my parents and my sister Meredith had been politely distant from me for years. Not hostile, just absent. David and I would invite them to things, and they would usually find reasons not to come. When Lily was born, they visited once in the first 2 months. When David died, they came to the funeral and stayed for the reception and left 3 weeks after the insurance call, Sunday dinners. Every week, my mom texting to ask how Lily was doing. Meredith suggesting we take a girls' trip together. I told David's best friend Marcus about it. Marcus is a lawyer. He had known David for 15 years. He said, "Be careful." He said to not sign anything and to call him if anything felt wrong. I started paying attention. What I pieced together over the following months, my dad's hardware supply business was failing. He had significant debt and was looking at bankruptcy. My sister Meredith had made some bad real estate investments and was also in serious financial trouble. My grandma Margaret, my mom's mother, 85 years old, sharp as anyone I've ever met, pulled me aside at one of the Sunday dinners and told me to call Marcus. She said she had seen things. She said, "Call him before something happens." I called Marcus the next morning, got Christmas Eve, 15 relatives. My mom had cooked for 2 days. Meredith brought the document to the table after dessert that she presented it as a practical measure. She said that given everything I had been through, it made sense for someone with financial experience to help manage things. She said it was what David would have wanted. She said it was just paperwork. My dad said it was the responsible thing to do that my mom said I wasn't thinking clearly and hadn't been since David died. Lily was sitting next to me. She had been quiet for most of the dinner. She reached over and put her hand on my arm. I said no. What followed was about 20 minutes that I don't fully want to reconstruct here. Voices were raised. Several relatives said things. Meredith said things about my spending and my judgment that were specific enough that someone had been watching and compiling. My dad said I was throwing away everything David had worked for. And then my mom looked at my daughter, 8 years old, sitting next to me with her hand on my arm, and said, "Christmas would be much better if you weren't here." Lily started crying that my dad said we should leave. He said to go and not come back. I picked up my coat. I picked up Lily's coat. I took her hand and we walked out. We sat in the car in the driveway for a few minutes. Lily had stopped crying, but she was very still in the way she gets when she is trying to hold something together. I texted Marcus, "Are you home?" He said yes. I said I need you to come somewhere, or am I the asshole for what I did next? It was Christmas Eve. There were 15 people inside that house. Whatever I was about to do was going to be disruptive and permanent, and I knew it. But my daughter had just been told she ruined Christmas by existing. And I had a lawyer on the phone who knew things I was only beginning to understand. Too long. Didn't read. Husband died 14 months ago. Dollar to .3M life insurance. Family went from absent to suddenly attentive. Grandma warned me something was wrong. Christmas Eve, sister slid a power of attorney across the table in front of 15 relatives and pressured me to sign. I refused. Mom told my 8-year-old Christmas would be better without us. Dad kicked us out. Sitting in the car now. Marcus is waiting for my call. Am I the asshole if I bring him back inside? Edit, called Marcus. He's on his way. My grandma just texted me that she's unlocking the back door. Edit 2. It's done. Lily is asleep, writing it out tomorrow.
Well, though this story is already giving off some serious red flags, what really stands out to me isn't the money, is how quickly this family seemed to reappear after years of barely being involved. The timing feels way too convenient to ignore. And honestly, the fact that they repair legal paperwork and try to stressing her into signing is in front of 15 relatives made the whole situation feel calculated that rather than caring. But the moment that's really hits me was what her mother said to the lady. An 18-year-old girl sitting quietly beside her mom should never have to hear something that's true. That wasn't restrictions. That felt personal. Mockers. Potential knowledge has become the most compelling mystery when you combine trauma explicit warning in a family's hidden financial distress with the sudden detail of the unlocked back door. It strongly indicates a much deeper, unrevealed narrative operating beneath the surface. So something tells me this termist inner is about to turn into a complete disaster. Someone's birth in this man be the birth in the family aspects. So let's move to a web one to see what's happening.
Update 1. 2 days later, Marcus arrived in 22 minutes. My grandma Margaret let him into the kitchen. I know this because she texted me when he pulled up and told me to come back inside, which I did, with Lily's hand in mine. The living room had not cleared out. 15 people still there, some of them helping with dishes, some of them still at the table. Meredith was talking to my dad in a low voice near the fireplace, Marcus. Set a folder on the dining room table. He said he had two things to share and that he wanted everyone to hear them. The first was a document I hadn't seen before it was a printed chain of emails. 18 months of correspondence between my mom and Meredith, beginning approximately 6 weeks after David's funeral. The emails detailed a plan. They talked about establishing that I was emotionally unstable. There was a thread about the gambling rumor, where it should be mentioned, to whom, how to make it seem credible. There was a thread about timing, when to push for the power of attorney, how to frame it, who in the family could be leveraged to add pressure 18 months. 243 emails. Marcus had printed the relevant ones. He placed them in the center of the table. The room read them. I watched people read them. I watched my aunt put her hand over her mouth. I watched a cousin sit down, his coffee, and not pick it up again, not my grandma Margaret. Sat in the armchair by the window and watched all of it without saying anything. The second document was her will, not the old one. A new one, dated from months ago, drafted with a different attorney in a different city. She had watched the emails. She had watched the Sunday dinners and the shifting attention and the slow construction of a narrative about my mental state. She had watched her daughter and granddaughter spend 18 months building a mechanism to take money from a widow with a young child, and she had rewritten her wills. The estate, a Victorian house worth approximately $1.8 million. The one Meredith had assumed for years would come to her. The one my grandma had mentioned to Meredith's children as their future inheritance was left entirely to me. Meredith received nothing. I watched my sister understand what had happened. She started crying before Marcus finished reading. My mom put her hands over her face. My dad sat down very slowly in the nearest chair. Meredith said she was sorry. She said she didn't mean for things to go this far. She said she had been desperate. She said she was scared. She said she needed help and hadn't known how to ask for it. She was on her knees by the time she finished. My mom was also on her knees. My dad was sitting with his head in his hands. I looked at Lily, who was standing next to me watching all of this. I thought about what my mom had said to her at this table 40 minutes ago. I took Lily's hand. I said good night. We walked out.
Okay, I didn't expect things to escalate that fast. What started as a suspicious family dinner just turned into a full-blown ESMO. And honestly, I'm still trying to assess this. The fact that there were hundreds of emails, the command, and actual playing is shocking enough. But Fremont quietly changing her entire world? That is the level of foresight I don't think anyone saw coming. And here's the thing. Meredith and her mom finally frocked down and apologized. But after 18 months of planning and manipulations, Can an apologize really fix that? Especially after what's Will say to Lily? I don't know. But despite everything this will expose, I can't help wondering if this is really the end of the story. People don't just lose money, relationships, and family expectations overnight without, this one says. Parker made things, the biggest one out hasn't happened yet. So what caused after everyone left this how? So that's what I want to know. And let me to the of that too.
Update 2. Found out several months later that my dad filed for bankruptcy in February. The hardware business had been failing for longer than I had known. The house my parents owned, the one where Christmas dinner had happened, was sold to settle debts. They're renting a smaller place now. I know this from my grandma, not from them. Meredith's professional reputation has taken damage in the way that these things do when the truth comes out through the right channels. Her husband has moved out. I don't know the details of their situation, and I don't follow it. Neither of them has contacted me directly. I haven't contacted them since my grandma Margaret moved out of the Victorian house. I had assumed she would want to stay there. She had lived in it for decades. It was full of her things and her history. But she said the house had always been a place she was planning to give away, and that it made more sense to give herself somewhere to be while she could enjoy it. She moved into our apartment. We have a 2-bedroom. Lily gave up her room without being asked and moved her things into a corner of the living room, which she has arranged into something she calls her studio. My grandma took the bedroom and put her own lamp on the nightstand and her own blanket on the bed, and within about 2 weeks it looked entirely like her. She and Lily watch television together on weekend mornings. My grandma has been teaching Lily to play cards. Lily has been teaching my grandma the names of her stuffed animals, which number 17 and apparently. All have distinct personalities that require separate acknowledgement. I sold the Victorian house. I thought about keeping it, but it felt like a place that belonged to something I was trying to move away from. I sold it, handled the proceeds carefully, and set up accounts for Lily's future. David had built something to protect us. I'm continuing the works. Marcus came over for dinner last month. He had known David for 15 years, and there are things about David that Marcus knows and I don't. And we've been having dinners where he tells me some of them. It's not grief exactly. It's more like filling in a picture. David used to say Marcus was the most organized person he knew. He was right. That last week, Lily and my grandma decorated the apartment for no particular occasion. They put string lights along the window and a paper banner across the kitchen that says happy in big letters and doesn't specify what exactly is being celebrated, that my grandma said. Happy is sufficient. I think she's right. I've been thinking about David's insurance policy. He bought it years before he died, before Lily was born, in the quiet, responsible way he did most things. He sat down and thought about what would happen if he wasn't there, and he made a plan for it. I didn't fully understand what he had given us until I had to. Protect it. I understand it now. Not the asshole, obviously, but what I needed to know wasn't whether I was right to call Marcus. It was whether I was allowed to protect what David left for us, to say no at that table, to walk out, to let the truth come out in that room in front of those 15 people. I was allowed. The string lights are up. Lily is teaching my grandma a card game. Happy says the banner, sufficient. More than sufficient, not too long. Didn't read. Marcus arrived in 22 minutes. Grandma let him in through the kitchen. He presented 18 months of emails planning the whole scheme minus 243 mails printed and placed on the dining table. Then he read the new will. Grandma had secretly changed it. Entire $1.8 million Victorian house to me, nothing to Meredith. Sister went to her knees. Mom went to her knees. Dad sat with his head in his hands. I took Lily's hand and said good night. Dad filed for bankruptcy. House sold. Meredith's husband moved out. Grandma moved into our apartment. She and Lily watched TV together on weekend mornings. Sold the Victorian. Set up accounts for Lily. String lights in the window. Happy says the banner, sufficient.
Looking back at this entire story, I think what's make it so powerful isn't the money, the inheritance, or even the shocking family betrayals. It's the contract between two very different kinds of love. On one side, you have people who saw a treatise and immediately started calculating what they could gain from it. They spent 18 months reading rumors, building resor, and tried to convince a reeling widow that she couldn't trust herself. That not a mistake made Dean a moments of panic. That's a choice repeated over and over again. But on the other side, you have David, Fremma, Margaret, and even little Lily. They're quietly planned for a future he hoped would never come. Marco stayed loyal to his best friend long after he was gone. And this rep mother protected her family when it mattered most. And Lily, despite everything she's heard and witnessed, never stopped standing beside her mom. What makes the ending so irreverently that it completely skips the petty revenge drama. While the front door devoutly faced the consequences of their actions, the final scenes isn't about their role, it's about a cozy apartment with string lights and drama teaching card games. And the simple banner that says, "Happy," is a perfect reminder that the best ending are about getting even, this about realizing that the people who truly love and support you are all you ever needed. So let me know what you guys think about this story, because I genuinely want to hear that. And if you enjoy this story, don't forget to like and subscribe to Book or Remember This Story. And I will see you in the next one. Goodbye.